Hey there, everyone. This is Daniel West for Scrapbook.com. We're celebrating World Cardmaking Day with Colorado Craft Company's new Anita Jerem line of stamps. Anita Jerem is an accomplished children's book author and illustrator, and she's best known for her subtle watercolor illustrations for the classic children's book, Guess How Much I Love You, written by Sam McBratney about 26 years ago. Well, I fell in love with her watercolor technique, and you can see how that looks here in this photo of the front of this book that she illustrated. I think her techniques are just fantastic for watercolor, and they seem so simple, and I thought maybe it would be great if I could use my alcohol markers to kind of recreate that feel. It's just a very light, free kind of coloring, and I really enjoy the look. And so I wanted to recreate it for you guys, and hopefully you will also try out this technique. I'm just going to stamp the main image from the stamp set onto some white Neenah Solar White cardstock. And I'm going to use Copic markers. You don't have to use Copics, and you don't need to worry too much about the exact colors I use. Just think about the colors you'd like to use here and use the Copic markers or alcohol markers you have. I have linked in the supplies below some alternatives that are available at Scrapbook.com. And I tried to pick the colors that best match the ones that I'm using here, but you don't necessarily have to use those colors even. To get the feel, though, of watercolor with Copics, we're not going to do the flicking and total blending of these colors together. We're going to mix and match color families a bit, staying mostly in the earthy tones, and kind of splotchily add ink in here. You see I started with a color blender, a colorless blender, and those are always available in whatever brand you buy. I just laid a coat of it down so that my next coat would kind of melt into that. And then I'm adding some different layers here. I started with a very light creamy color, and I'm purposefully not giving the names, even though you may see the marker caps there, because I really want you to focus on just the kind of colors we're using. I laid down a very light color first, and then I added a medium color, and then another medium color, just a little bit darker. These are all lighter shades of the same color family. And you see I'm just dotting this in. And as I go, I can see that as I move my fingers up and down, I'm kind of blocking exactly what's happening on the paper below, and you can only see the result. But that's kind of the way that you need to do this technique. You need to kind of go vertically down instead of sideways, and just splotchily add ink in a kind of semi-controlled way. We don't want to go too crazy, but definitely we're not looking for smooth lines here, and even we're not looking for an even color job here. We're looking for splotchy kind of impressionistic look to our color. As I laid down some of the darker color in here, I decided I wanted to lighten it up again, and the wonder of alcohol markers is that you can just go back and lighten things up, especially if you're using some of these lighter colors like I'm using now. I'm going to bring in a warm gray marker here, and this is going to desaturate the edges of this coloring. And what desaturation means is, if you look at a shadow somewhere, the color under the shadow isn't just different or light, darker than the color around it. It's actually less colorful. The shadow kind of takes some of the edge off of the color, and that's what grays do with alcohol coloring. I got a little heavy-handed on this guy's armpit. And so I wanted to come in and just lighten that up. And at the end of coloring him, I noticed that I still wasn't happy with how much darkness I put underneath his arm. And I will fix that in the final product. I did all of the painting for the big rabbit in slow motion or regular motion for you. But I'm about to speed things up so that I can finish the coloring within about a 10-minute time lapse here. So I'm basically, for each one of these animals, I'm going to repeat the process, laying down some colorless blender and then adding in the different layers of color on top. So here we go. First with a little squirrel. I purposely limited my color palette to the same markers because I want the painting to have a unified feel, and I can get differences with just the amounts of color I add on each animal. I don't necessarily have to make them different colors, although you can if you like. You do you, my friend. That's the wonder of stamps. You can make them any color you like. Now, here is a tricky spot in this stamp for me when I was trying to color it. This is the rabbit's tail, and since the light source I chose is coming toward his belly and face, I wanted to darken up his tail, but I think I got it too dark. And so I will also fix that in the end off camera, and you'll see the finished product. So here's a little fox, and he's kind of facing the light source directly. So I'm just going to add a little bit of light onto his left side, or leave a little bit of light on his left side, and then paint in his tail as well. And you see I did the same thing with his tail, and that's what I will fix. There's a little spot on the drawing between his leg and tail that is actually grass, and so I've got to erase that with my colorless blender in the end and then add in the grass. All the way to the right is this really tiny hedgehog. He's so cute. I love the whimsical feel of the drawings from Neenah Jerem. And all of the stamp sets for this month from Colorado Craft Company, which is a brand new company for Scrapbook.com to carry, are drawn by her. So here's the little hedgehog. I'm lightening up the back of him for the light source coming in from the left side. And now the little mouse is going to get colored here with the same colors, just leaving a lot more white on his face on the right. So we see kind of a light source hitting him on the right like the squirrel. Now I'm bringing in some yellow-green markers here in 3 different shades to add some more of this watercolor look. And this is exactly what I was going for. It's a splotchy, impressionistic feel. I'm adding a horizon off the side of the little slope they're on. And when you're done coloring with alcohol markers, the beauty of having stamped it in the MISTI is you can go back and you can re-stamp those black lines, just making sure you have the entire card exactly where you had placed it in the beginning. And you have this crisp image in the end. I love the result. There's a really great sentiment, several in this stamp set, but this one really just spoke to me. It says, "We got this." Send this kind of card to your friends right now. They need to know that you're together with them. I'm going to trim this down about 1/4 of an inch off of each side and then pop it up on some foam adhesive onto the front of a A2 size card base. And you can see how I fixed the underarm of the rabbit and then the tail and leg of the fox. here in this finished product. I just loved the result. I hope you'll give this a try. As you celebrate World Card Making Day, maybe you'd like to purchase some of the things that I have listed here. Everything is going to be in the supplies list beneath this video. Thank you for spending some time with me, and if you're not subscribed to the Scrapbook.com YouTube channel, what are you waiting for?